Welcome to the show. Hi, I'm Randy Jeffers, and we are live from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, we have a really special show. We have with you one of my good friends, Dr. Kibret Kebede, and Dr. K. It's great to have you here. Dr. K is a medical professor at Nevada State College. And one of the other things that we want to talk about today is the medical missions that you do. But welcome, it's great to have you here.
Thank you very much, Randy. Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, like you said, my name is Dr. Kibret Kebede. I'm originally from Ethiopia. I went to medical school in Greece, and then I specialized in orthopedics in the United Kingdom. My last job was in Scotland, then I moved to Ethiopia, to Las Vegas. Got married and I have a family. I'm a father of 2 children, so I've been married about 20 years. And I have also worked at Nevada State College since 2005.
Well, Nevada State College is an interesting place. I understand they have this massive amount of land, and so at some point it's going to grow into being a really huge college, right?
Yes, actually our previous president, Fred Mariansky, the late Fred Mariansky, used to say that the 600 acres of land that we have will make us the largest campus in Nevada. So
wow.
I never imagined we'd surpass any of those older institutions like UNLV or UNR, but we do have a large expanse of land, and it's beginning to fill up now. We have the nursing and education building newly put in place about 2-3 years ago. And now under construction is the student hostels and some more places where we can have a common lab with other institutions. So it's expanding, and it has acquired a white building in the fringe of this piece of land. And it is being converted into a one-stop shopping place for students for IT needs and advising and counseling and all of those type of things.
So what's the what areas does Nevada State get involved? I know it's involved in the medical field.
Well, when Nevada State College was founded, it was founded primarily to meet the demands on providing health professionals, and primarily nurses, and education, so to have teachers. So that was the goal of the Board of Regents as well as the legislature here. So I think we're doing a good job with that. So the nursing program has one of the highest reputations in the nation, and we are producing several teachers now in Nevada, and I believe we'll be one of the institutions that meet the need of the state, and specifically in our area, Las Vegas and Clark County and all those areas, in terms of the demand for teaching, nursing, and healthcare in general. Some new branches have been added to Nevada State College, such as criminal justice, business as a major, highly fastly growing area at Nevada State College. So as we go on, as the years pass by, there might be some modification to our mission, but it was primarily founded for teaching in health professions.
So it's a college, not a university.
And not a university yet, and we aspire that it would be a university soon. And,
because you're so broad.
We're broad. And
now the medical department. So do you actually train doctors? Or are you training nurses?
We do prepare students that will go into nursing, medical doctors, dentists, pharmacists, in the health professions.
So you're doing the undergrad part.
The undergrad part, yes. And
so that's good that you have more of a specialty for undergrad work.
Yes, and we do work closely with UNR in terms of the medical program, and UNLV now, the new relationship.
Yeah, they have a brand new medical school.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there is a very good relationship that's going on between these 2 sister institutions.
Yeah.
I see our dean a lot, was the dean of the medical school, visiting our campuses frequently, so I'm assuming that there is a great deal of collaboration there.
That's a lady, right?
Yes.
An older lady, a small
Yes.
little. What's her name?
I don't remember her name, but we do get her emails
Yeah.
every week from her about the progress of the college.
I was at a function there at UNO at the medical school, and recently, and she spoke, and very interesting
Yes.
lady. I think that's the future of that medical school is going to be incredible.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So now you're a doctor, and you're from Ethiopia.
Mhm.
Well, tell us a little bit about Ethiopia first. What's it like?
Ethiopia is unfortunately portrayed as a land of a lot of miseries because of the successive famines that have taken place in the 80s and I believe most recently in the 90s. And that clouds its history. But aside from that picture that people associate with, Ethiopia is a very ancient empire. It's a 2,000-year-old empire.
Yeah.
It was one of the first countries that adopted Christianity. So
Well, it's talked about in the Bible.
yes,
right?
if you read the
Yeah.
Bible, it is the eunuch that was from the palace, the Ethiopian palace. Was Philip was, I think, the apostle that baptized him. So he went to Ethiopia, and Christianity was became the official religion at the time. And the Ethiopian calendar is unique because since it started with the introduction of Christianity, it is 8 years later than the European calendar. So
Wow.
it is. It's now year 2017, so it should be 2009 in Ethiopia. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
So to this day, they
To
still.
this day, so that calendar is still kept.
Now that's different from other countries in Africa.
Yes, it's different.
Okay.
So there is a great deal of tradition pertaining to Christianity, Christian history. There are several churches, incredible monuments of those past emperors and monarchs who built this empire, and the obelisks at Aksum are quite fascinating. I took my children to see those things in one of the visits we had, and they just were really, really amazed at how much of architecture happened during those thousands
Yeah.
of years ago. There's a church called Lalibela, which is an underground hewn from a hill, which was carved by hand, and it has some elements of Byzantine history, Byzantine coins and engravings, and including Indian, Hindu things. So it sort of gives you an idea that this empire was not contained within this continent, but they had ventured further away from the Horn of Africa to those lands. So it is a very historically rich country. And Lucy, the original woman or man who was discovered in terms of archaeology, is one of the treasures, and I think they used this for tourism, saying that this is the origin of man. So
This was the Garden of Eden.
the Garden of Eden,
Yeah.
and a land which is called 13 months of sunshine, because you have sunshine all the time. It is a high altitude place, so it's not as hot as some people assume it to be, with the exception of the eastern part where you have a desert and has all the characteristics of a desert. So the 13 months of sunshine slogan in tourism has attracted a lot of people's attention to come and visit Ethiopia.
It also has a beach land, right?
Oh yes, there was. Now that was in the time when the currently called Eritrea became a state. So the northern part of Ethiopia was in conflict with the central part of Ethiopia for several years. It took about 30 years of warfare, which drained the productivity and the energy of the nation. And finally, this culminated with the independence of Eritrea. So it's a separate state now.
Oh.
But in a few years ago, that coastline was part of Ethiopia. So there is the port of Asab and Massawa, and was also a tourist attraction. I'm hopeful and optimistic that we will have this animosity between the two parts of Ethiopia and Eritrea to be resolved in some mutually beneficial way, and bring back the brotherhood and create some open communication and unity or some sort of economic collaboration that is beneficial to both people. So.
Now, Ethiopia is from Egypt.
It is
how
very
far?
close to Egypt, and its
Yeah.
history is linked with Egypt.
Yeah.
So, between Ethiopia, if you go to the north, between Ethiopia and Egypt, there is a strip of land that belongs to Sudan. So, at one time, Ethiopian historians, claimed that the empire extended all the way to Libya and the currently called Arabian countries and bordered with Israel, and that's where the Queen of Sheba and Israel comes into play. So the Queen of Sheba visited King Solomon
Yes. Uh-huh.
of Israel because they had this orderliness or some kind of relationship during those times, and the royal dynasty of Ethiopia claims its descent from the house of King Solomon. So there is a great deal of history that binds Ethiopia with Jerusalem or King Solomon and Israel in general. So.
Yeah, very interesting. Now, I understand your family, your wife's family, has a lot of political connections.
Yes, she did. Well, I don't know. I didn't have her consent on this, but I think I can say that her father, her family she comes from a family called Ras Tesemma. Ras is a huge title of nobility in Ethiopia, and he wanted to have independent Eritrea. Eritrea, being on the coastline, was subjected to occupation by Turks for a short period of time, then Italians, and then the British occupation. So when the United Nations asked for the will of the people, he was an outspoken propagator of the idea of separation. So Eritrea for Eritreans comes from that, and she, on her father's side, comes from Ras Tesemma family.
Oh, wow.
And on the other hand, her mother comes from central Ethiopia, and she is linked with the Ethiopian royal family. The Princess Royal, or the Crown Princess, was the one who actually sent her to school in the United States. And her mother was a parliamentarian before she left the country. But the well-known member of her family on the mother's side is the Jazmach Gebrselassie, who was a very progressive governor of Adwa, and also it's called Nubureid. It's a very special title, which is a sort of affiliated with the Church of Aksum, which is the original church of Christianity. So. So there is a great deal of history in the family, and we feel that Ethiopia could have retained some of its original and classic historical values and preserved them. Of course, things change with progress, but you could also maintain progress and maintain your history at the same time.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Now, how old were you when you left Ethiopia the first time?
The first time, well, my first trip began when I was about 17 or 18. I was at the military academy, and I was sent to France, to Saint-Cyr, École Militaire de Saint-Cyr. I learned French and visited France, and that was my first exposure to the industrialized world. So I came back, graduated, and then I graduated with distinction and honors and a gold medal student and all that kind of stuff. So I was given the opportunity to go out of the country and study. It was the intention of the administrators who sent out young people who, like myself, were excelling in their academic performance. I think somebody told me I was planning to go to a university in Canada, McGill University in Canada, and go study medicine. But I don't know if you're aware of this, but in 1974 we had a revolution. The military took over. It was it was politically aligned with the left, so it was aligned with the Soviet Union and other leftist countries. So it wasn't in good terms with the other Western countries.
Yeah.
So this relationships, this exchange of students and scholarships and all those types of things stopped. So I was given an opportunity to go and study in Greece, which was great at the time because we were going through a very tumultuous time and things were difficult. So I grabbed that opportunity, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And
So you learned another language too.
yes, of course,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I love Greece. I have lots of wonderful memories about the culture. When we studied the language, I nearly couldn't believe it was possible for someone to study this language, which did not look like French or English or anything. It was totally different concept of grammar and sound.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if people really actually wanted me to learn this language and then go to med school and learn medicine.
Yeah.
But I knew people who've done it before me, so I said it must be
possible.
Yeah. And then I think after the first year, I loved the language so much. I spoke with anyone I found on my way. So I'd be chatting with the shopkeeper, the person I met in the bus, or anyone, everywhere. And friends tell me that I have a good accent speaking Greek, and
Oh.
sometimes if I'm on the phone, some people could take me for an actual Greek person.
Exactly.
And loved the classics, and it was a great pleasure to read the classics in the relatively older Greek, not the extremely ancient Greek, because it's totally different also. But I read Homer and the Iliad and all of those type of things, and I have incredible memories about Greek literature and the fact that the Bible was translated in Greece, and
Yeah.
visited those places with Saint Paul. And
It's got to be thrilling. To have
It is
those memories.
amazing. It is just, it is so full of history that you get mesmerized by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So after Greece, what happened?
And then when I was done, I graduated from medical school, and then I went to the United Kingdom, and I trained as an orthopedic surgeon. I had already started in Greece, and then got registered with the General Medical Council of London. Registered in Britain means you become licensed to practice there. So
Uh-huh.
So I worked at various hospitals in London, Children's Hospital also briefly, but I saw that I'm much more interested in joint replacement surgery, so that's the area I pursued. Did several assignments in England, and then my last job was in Scotland, which is another fascinating place. And I was privileged and fortunate enough to be accepted to one of the highly celebrated institutions there at the University of Glasgow, and it's called Western Infirmary under Professor David Hamblin, who is a highly reputed professor in orthopedics. And just to put this in perspective, this is a hospital close to where Dolly, the ship, was cloned.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, a few miles away from there. So Edinburgh, and the big city, famous for the origination of whiskey and those type of things, and golf, of course. Yeah, there's
That's
so
right.
many green pastures.
I think our
in
president
Scotland.
has a course over
Yes,
there, right?
I think that is, yeah. So it is a beautiful place. But when I came to Las Vegas, it happened to coincide with the month of July.
And you thought you were in paradise.
I was.
Either that or hell.
I could not believe that anybody would have chosen to build a city in the middle of this desert. But now I am so used to it that if I were to travel, I'd miss being back home, and I like the warmth. And my children were born here, so they're.
It's an amazing place.
It's a wonderful place,
It really
yes.
is an amazing place.
And people think when we talk about Las Vegas, I don't actually tell people, especially in the medical community, when I go to conferences, they would say, "Where are you from?" And I would say, "I don't say from Las Vegas," because if I don't have some more minutes to explain what I do, it will give the impression that I'm up there to gamble.
You're gambling every
or
day.
some kind of
people think
degenerate guy looking for some gambling place in his life. So they associate Las Vegas with only gambling,
right,
but it is a place that's growing in many ways. It's a center for technology, several medical ventures like yours, where stem cell and various types of things are going to be introduced to the community. So Las Vegas, a lot of things. But actually, practically, I do work in Henderson. So I usually mention Henderson. So I say I'm from Henderson.
Well, it's all one big town, really.
One big town, really.
No separation.
Yes.
So I wanted to mention one thing. I want to move into the medical vacations that you do because it's such a wonderful ministry that you have, and I think you could call it a ministry. It's just amazing. But I want to mention, you're talking about Ethiopia, and there is a church there that that has a monastery within a monastery, I guess, with one monk that has the privilege of something really, really special. Tell us about you. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yes. You're talking about the Church of Saint Mary in Aksum.
Yes.
So that church is where the Ark of the Covenant is kept. So it's kept in a separate place. I haven't actually visited the place because I was told that there is nothing you can do. It's just within the vicinity of the church, and you're not allowed to step into that, or nobody sees that. And according to scriptures, if you open up and see that, you die. So there was scriptural stories where people died when they attempted to do that. So traditionally what has happened is a young monk or a youngster, about 14-year-old, is elected to do that. They must probably show some excellence in terms of their spiritual inclinations. And when that young boy, or a 14-year-old boy, is chosen, he's chosen for life.
For life.
For life. So he would be sitting there next to the Ark of the Covenant and would not move anywhere.
So why doesn't he die?
Yes, he died. The previous one died. When someone dies, he's replaced by another young.
But the story goes that if you look at the Ark of the Covenant, you will die. Now, why does this
it is closed.
The caretaker.
So the Ark of the Covenant is closed.
So it never gets opened up.
It never gets opened up.
Okay.
So it's closed and covered with a special cloth, I'm assuming, because the other arks that are used in church are taken out for special holy days. And a young monk carries them on their head, and it's covered with cloth. So this original Ark of the Covenant from King Solomon's temple, and the story says that when the Queen of Sheba had her child from King Solomon, the child was taken back to his father's court, and when he left, his father gave him a group of courtesans with various types of skills that would help his empire grow.
This is King Solomon.
King Solomon's son, and he's called Menelik, King Menelik.
So King Solomon and Queen of Sheba had a child together.
Yes. And his name is King Menelik the First.
Yeah.
So when he came to Ethiopia, along with those people that were the artisans who were going to help him build the country, and mostly skilled people, he also took the Ark of the Covenant without the consent of the father.
Oh, yeah.
So ever since it was brought to Ethiopia, that church was built and it's kept there. So the funny thing is, I had the wonderful opportunity of knowing the previous patriarch. During one of my medical mission trips, I was given an audience to meet with him and speak with him. So this topic was brought out, and he was designing a big center for the display of the relics that were stored in the church and not so well kept. And he wanted to have a new building where they can be displayed and can be a tourist attraction. So I asked him about the Ark of the Covenant. I said, and he said, do we really have the original Ark of Covenant? And he said, Well, we say and believe that we have the Ark of the Covenant. Now it's up to the tourists to believe or not believe that. So you
Right.
say it's their choice. So it was kind of funny, and I said, so this is not something you can take out and prove that you have it. And he said,
Right.
there's nothing we can do about it. It's skipped where it skipped. So that was the history of that. And it had some particular relevance for us because the governor of that city a few generations ago was my wife's grandfather, and
Oh my goodness! Wow.
his home was converted into a museum, and it was a great thing for our kids to see that.
You know, it's such a fascinating story. And so this 14-year-old boy that grows into an old man someday,
Uh-huh.
right? Because it lasts forever.
Yeah.
Now he's the only one that gets to even be in the
To
presence.
be in the presence of that,
the
yes.
only one.
The only one.
Now-
So people bring him food, leave him food.
So he never gets
He
to
sleeps
leave.
there. He never gets
He's in
to
a
leave.
cave or some.
Yes,
All his
some-
life.
Some special place all his life. He considers that a huge privilege for himself.
Of
because
course, yeah.
He's guaranteed.
But he never gets to go to a restaurant. He never
No,
gets to
absolutely
get on
not.
the internet or.
No, nothing like that. Not even the
that's-
ordinary monk does that,
Yeah.
let alone him. So These things are not
so people
really-
bring him food and.
bring him food, and I'm certain that most of the time he's fasting because there are several fasts in Ethiopian Orthodox Church. There is now people are fasting right now for Christmas, for the birth of the Christ, for 1 month. Then for Easter, in Lent, just like
Uh-huh.
Catholic Church, for instance, has Lent for 40 days. It is
Right.
60 days in Ethiopia. There is a fast during winter, so there are so many months of the year, almost half of the year, that you fast.
It works out good with all their famines. Huh?
Yes, and the famines.
Well, very interesting.
Yeah.
So let's move back to Nevada now.
Okay.
So you're here in Nevada. You're a medical doctor, and what was your first job here?
My first job here was until I had my certification and all the paperwork and the recertification, which is almost like building the Great Wall of China all over again.
Yeah.
It was a huge task. So I taught at a place called Kaplan. Kaplan, this is a place where students prepare themselves to take the medical college entrance examination.
Sure.
So I was teaching there, and that's how I got the bug about teaching. Because previously, when I did surgery, I would have residents come and I would talk about the surgery I'm going to do and tell them about the body structures that are being reconstructed or something like that. But when I started doing that, I actually enjoyed teaching them. The moment when a student really, has the traditional way of saying, like the bulb goes off and they're
Uh-huh.
really
They catch the vision,
No,
yeah.
I got it now.
Yeah.
It used to fascinate me, and then I continued from that. And then I worked a little bit with Regis University when they opened up a branch here.
Mhm.
And then from then on, I just went on. I did a brief. I was director of surgical technology at the College of Southern Nevada, and a friend of mine who was a professor at UNR said there is a new college that they're building, and they've asked me to come and teach there. And I think you have more of a teaching skill than I, and I'm going to retire, so I have recommended you. What do you think about that? And I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And then I got,
And there you are.
yeah, there I am, and I'm doing it, and I'm enjoying it so far. When I stop enjoying that, I'll go back to surgery. It's
So
like
now,
anything.
during all this time while you're teaching, are you practicing medicine as well?
Yes, I did not have my own practice, but I would go to surgery and participate in surgery, or they would give me case and I work on those. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about the medical vacations now,
Yeah.
because
The medical missions.
the medical missions.
Mhm.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's so important, and there you really get to practice your medicine,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Tell us about how that works.
Well, how that works is when the way it started was somebody gave my name to an organization in Washington called the Four Corners.
Uh-huh.
So what these people do is they travel all over the world, just like their name, Four Corners. They're affiliated with a church in Washington area. I don't seem to know the difference between Maryland, Virginia, and all those type of things, but they were in those areas, and they would have doctors go with them. So they would go to a remote area where there is no medical attention. The people don't get any medical service. And while the surgeons and the physicians are treating those patients, they would be preaching the gospel and bringing people to Christ.
Yeah.
So I received that proposal and I said, okay, I think I can do this. So I went to, it was Kenya. So I went to Kenya, and as things were progressing, I was doing all kinds of small procedures and treating patients, some wounds that needed debridement, some cyst or something like that. But the most impressive one that remains seared in my memory is a gentleman called Samuel. He's a local farmer, and he had a lipoma on his chin. And when I examined him, I could say that it was a lipoma. And he wanted to go get the surgery done in the regional hospital or something, which might cost him, 4 or 5 of his goats or whatever he has to sell. If he went to the capital, it would be more than that. So I told him when I visited him, I can take this out for you. And he said, how much am I going to pay you? And I said, you don't have to pay me anything. I'm doing this just to help you. He did not believe that. I said, all I want you to do is just stay fasting all night, and I want you early this morning, next morning at 8 a.m. would be my first case. So he did that. He came, and I had, she's now graduating from med school. I had a student at Nevada State College who was traveling with me. She assisted me, and we took out the lipoma, removed the excess skin and sewed it back, and I gave it back to him in a jar, said, you can take this to a hospital and have pathology look at it if there is any relevance, but I knew it is lipoma, as I can see the content. I was really surprised that we could take it as one mass. Yeah. And that completely transformed his appearance. He became whole now. He became, just like everybody else. And I'm sure he was ostracized in his community when he had this.
How long did he have it?
I'm not sure, but for quite a long time, like 5-6 years or something like that. And that transformed his life, and it also touched me in a different way. And I said, for the first time in my medical practice, I'm feeling like I am changing someone's life here. Yeah. And I was really, really content. And I began to think, I was given this opportunity, this skill to help people. I'm being an instrument of God, if you want to put it that way. Yeah. And then really I became passionate about it. So I did several similar cases and went back another mission or a couple of missions, and then I said, why don't I do this in Ethiopia as well? So it was some pattern, something I could replicate. And I talked with them, and they said yes, and we might even join you in Ethiopia, and give me pointers on how to organize this. So I took a big team in 2011. So there was another professor, her name is Robin Herlands, who was passionate about helping people. So we had about 11 students with us, medical students, and then we took them, and we had a big donation from Biomed, one of the prosthesis producing companies. So I did the first hip and knee replacement at the University Hospital of Addis Ababa.
The first one?
The first one, Black Line. Not that they weren't surgeons who knew how to do that, but they might have been trained abroad how to do that, but the material wasn't accessible to them. So, so I brought that and did the first case. It was publicized more than I had actually wanted to, because people were excited about it, but I would have chosen it to be just something I do and go back home. Yeah. So once they knew about it, I received calls from various hospitals to come and do some case. So, and then I had a lot of people there on a waiting list who wanted to have that opportunity for this surgical intervention to be done. I had to go back and do that. And one very touching patient I had found in this hospital was a lady who had a hip problem. So she had this pain and she couldn't sleep for 2 or 3 years, I think she said. Never slept a whole night's sleep. And so some doctors tell her it might be her reproductive stuff as a female. Some call her she might have rheumatism or something like that. So she's been through several physicians, and finally someone diagnosed her with osteoarthritis of the hip. And as it happens, Ethiopians, if they wanted to go for a very specialized surgery, they had to travel abroad. And she had prepared to go abroad. So I did the case for her, and she started walking. And one of the most exuberant patients I've had, she was excited to see herself walking pain-free. And she was being interviewed by the local TV station, and she said, "This is the first time in so many years that I slept the whole night."
Wow.
And it was really touching. And when I was doing her post-operative examination, she came up with a stash of Ethiopian dollars to hand it to me, and I said, "For goodness sake, if I had money, I would give it to people here, but I did not come here looking for money. I came here to provide my services." And she was really, really touched by that. And she said, I had sold my home. First, she said I sold all my jewelry. Then I sold my home, and I was about to spread all my children with my relatives and then go abroad and get this procedure until you came and you changed my life. And that really did it for me.
How does that feel? Knowing that you can really change somebody's life.
It is really so fulfilling. It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's very hard to express because it's something you feel, and it's really. It gives your life a purpose. It says,
Yeah.
well, so this was the purpose for my life. I've never really understood why I had to travel through continents, and actually when I came here, and I find my life so migratory that I wonder about what God's plan in my life was. I was born in Africa, trained in Europe, and then got married and have a family in the United States, which is an American by the grace of God, and I'm happy and proud of that. But I used to wonder about all of this. Why is all this happening? What course is my life taking? And then this happens, and you say, all the time, this was the purpose I was created for. And I enjoy doing that. And since then, I do that every year. What I would want to say to our audience is if they can support our medical missions and be a part of this gratifying work, if they could contact the Nevada State College Foundation and say medical missions and donate to that.
Now, how would they get a hold of the foundation?
It is on the website of Nevada State College.
Okay.
So you can go to the foundation.
www.nevadastatecollege.com.
Yes,
Okay.
nsc.edu.
.edu. Okay.
nsc.edu, and then go to the foundation and specifically state that this is for the medical missions.
Okay.
We do get some help from pharmaceutical companies. If there are some pharmaceutical people who are hearing this, would appreciate if they could help us with some mix.
Now, is it just doctors that go?
No, we do take people who...
You do?
Yes. If we have medicine we want to distribute to the local population,
Yeah.
Any person without any medical background can help distribute that.
Sure.
And usually we... not many of the Ethiopian trips were done with an affiliation with a church, but I hope to do my future ones with Hope Church, which I love and enjoy, and has this ministry where it wants to help the world. And if we can do that, then any members of the church could also join us in this medical mission
That's
and
fabulous. Now, when is the next time? When's the next trip?
Usually it's end of June, beginning of July. So it's
once a year.
Once a year, yes.
Okay.
We do small local medical missions in the area in January when the college closes. We have now a group going to Oaxaca, Mexico. I have done a few like Santo Domingo and all of those closer places during the winter break for short trips within closer area to where we are in the United States. But the big trips are done end of June, beginning of July.
Yes. How long would a trip last?
Usually it's 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
We
okay.
aim for 2 weeks. It takes us a few days to adjust ourselves.
Yeah.
And if people want to stay, in some case, for instance, we had some physician assistants from Touro University who joined us one of our trips. They want to stay and do some tourism as well. So people can stay and do some tourism where we go. Or if they have any commitments, they can leave and come back to the U.S. sooner.
Oh, okay.
But generally, the time frame we prepare for is about 2 weeks.
It's got to be just an amazingly fulfilling trip.
Oh,
so once
incredible.
again, that website is www.nsc.edu. Okay, not com now, edu. Right?
EDU and Nevada State Foundation.
So just put it in there. There's probably a search box, and you can put in the foundation.
The foundation.
Okay. Well, that's fabulous. So people can donate money there.
Yes,
And-
and they should specify that it is for medical admissions,
Yes.
because people donate as we are growing college. They donate for the college itself as well,
Yeah.
and I would encourage them to do that also.
Okay. Well, that's absolutely fabulous. Well, my goodness, it's just amazing to know that you're doing that. God bless you for doing that. It's what a necessary, needed thing that really is. Any other quick stories you can think of?
Well, I should say before we close, I really appreciate meeting people like you and having our fellowship and the venture that you're taking us towards is quite exciting. The fact that you're doing the stem cell
Hey.
research, and this is one of the things I hope we'll be able to collaborate and
Yeah.
sort of replicate,
Yeah.
if you wish, in Ethiopia. There are some private clinics where some people who can afford this type of treatment can come and have this type of medical attention, and I will look forward to that.
You know, it's got to be rewarding also teaching. You know, you never know about the ripple effect in life, right?
Yes.
You know, you throw that little rock out in the middle of the pond and
yes.
it ripples out.
Yes.
You may be training some student right now that or maybe might go into research, for instance, and find a cure for cancer.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
because of your work with that student,
Yeah.
that made it possible, right?
Absolutely. And I say that during lectures. My students get a big laugh when I say that. Whenever we're discussing something and I say, this process in disease or this process in treatment has not yet been discovered, and I tell them, if you do research in the future in your life and you find a treatment for this, you're going to win a Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
And when you do win the Nobel Prize, mention Nevada State College
That's right.
and Dr. Cabeta's class.
That's right.
And they get a big laugh from that. So it gives you a great opportunity to inspire people, and I hear a lot of stories also about how much of a struggle some non-traditional students, people who've been working in casinos and want to change their profession, people who are married, especially some women. I don't know how they do that there. It's almost heroic for me. They
Yeah.
have 3-4 children and they have a spouse,
Yeah.
full-time job and taking care of the family.
It's amazing what people do.
Full-time student.
Yeah.
It is incredible. I have great respect.
It's all
for
about
them.
having the passion. I guess people will do whatever it takes to do that.
Absolutely.
And then you have other people who sit around and don't do
Yeah.
anything, want to collect
Yeah.
money from the government without doing
Exactly.
anything, right? So,
And I consider it a great opportunity and a privilege when I am in this person's life.
yeah.
And I am one of the people who would lay the foundation for their future career and get them to reach where they want to reach.
Exactly.
That's
Well, what a blessed life you have, and
Thank
God
you.
bless you. You just are
Thank you.
you're one amazing human being, and I'm just delighted to call you a friend. So, thanks
Yes,
for
thank you,
being
my
with
friend.
us.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Take care.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week, same time, same station. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.